the incentives, but we always have to talk about our quality of life. We always have to talk about our cultural assets. And we always need to talk about the things that make living in Birmingham a very exciting, compelling, and wonderful thing. And it's hard to imagine today talking about things or talking about our community without certain things that we could talk about. Like, if a lot of us remember when Railroad Park didn't exist. Can you imagine not having that to talk about? A lot of us remember when there was no Pepper Place Farmers Market. And a lot of us remember when, we didn't have a Frank Stitt, and all that came from Frank's mentoring and what the changes he brought to our restaurant scene. There was a time there was no Sidewalk Film Festival. As you know, we're celebrating 25 years of that now. And ironically, if you think about Birmingham's history, as I find myself doing probably far too much, the late 90s was a time when our city had gone through and really kind of completed a great series of change that began in the 60s from the civil rights era and what that brought, the changes to the economy. We were a city built for industry, but that was not the future. And we had to change to a service economy. And we saw a lot of change in the kinds of jobs that we were creating and needed to have in Birmingham. And then, of course, in 1999, the first African-American leader of the city, Mayor Arrington, decided to no longer run again. And so we were at a very, I think, critical pivot point in our city around the turn of the century. Culturally, we had to change from a working class community to something that was going to be an exciting, compelling community for the growth that the 21st century was going to demand. And that's when Pepper Place Farmers Market started. That's when you saw the seeds of the Railroad Park, which wouldn't come for a decade later, but that's when I think the train really left the station on Railroad Park around that time. You saw a number of other things. You were going to see the growth of coming out of Frank Stitt's world, a change to our restaurant scene. Well, also in the late 90s, the Sidewalk Film Festival started. Some folks got together and said, we would really believe Birmingham should have this. And we still do, thankfully. In 2009, that group of people that were leading that great institution picked a Talladega native who got her BA in communications from Auburn University to be the leader, the executive director of the Sidewalk Film Festival. And really, in her time in leadership, that organization has catapulted forward so much, has grown so much. Attendance at the festival has grown. Also, the offerings of the festival has grown. And they did this little bitty thing called the cinema in the Pizitz building, actually creating a physical space and not just an event every year, which is a whole lot of change. And change is a key word. And Chloe and I were just talking about how much change she has had to see in her time in leadership. And so it is a great honor for me to introduce a great cultural leader of our city, an organizational leader, and a change agent, Chloe Cook.
Thank you, David and JW. Thank you as well. I don't have a script that tells me, but I got the message. And thank all of you for having me here to speak to the club. Every time I walk in this room, I'm reminded of my 21, I think, or 22-year-old self. I worked for the Kiwanis Club of Birmingham right out of college, and it was a time of change. That was not the late 90s, but the very early 2000s, and the club was considering digital communication. We were going to build a website and send an email newsletter instead of a print one, and that was a long and fun and interesting process for a 21-year-old who thought she really had the world figured out. But this was a great place to start a career in Birmingham, because I got to know so much about what was happening in this city and who was responsible for making those things happen. And just to get, a real understanding of sort of inner workings of community and how important relationships are and all those things. And that early start here in this room with Kiwanis, I think has been a big part of my ability to lead Sidewalk over the last 15 years. So thank you, Kiwanians, for that great privilege. Many years ago now. So speaking of many years ago, and David alluded to this, I won't do a total copycat, but this is our 25th year. And around the same time that the Sidewalk Festival was launching, the McWane Center was opening. And apparently the Kiwanis Club was starting its Business Hall of Fame, which I learned today at the head table. And so I do think that it was a time in our city where people really wanted to bring back some of the vibrancy that they had known, perhaps from their youth, into our downtown area. And you can see the fruit of that labor today through events like ours, but through lots of other organizations, including Kiwanis, that have really helped to, I think solidify downtown Birmingham as a fun, interesting, collaborative space to be. So thank you all for that as well. All right, I have to remember how to use this clicker. I'm a laptop girl, but we're going to give it my best shot. So 25 years of loving movies, and we've been thinking about, what does 25 years really mean to an organization, to an event like ours? And I have been thinking about what it means to me. I remember my 25th birthday and feeling like, oh, I'm a grown up now, and I really have this solidified idea of who I'm going to be as an adult. And although I'm an individual person and we're talking about an organization, I think there are a lot of parallels. I went through an awkward adolescence. Sidewalk went through an awkward adolescence. We went to college. We learned some things. We graduated. We got that first job. And there were some stumbles along the way, and then we made some big leaps forward. And I think that the organization of Sidewalk has really done that same thing in the 25 years that it's existed. And we started out in vacant storefronts on 3rd Avenue North across from the Alabama Theater with bean bags for chairs and no air conditioning. And we have really grown. And as David mentioned, we opened our own physical space in the historic theater district in 2019. And we not only use that for our festival every year, but we operate on a year-round basis. The theater district has grown around us with the redevelopment of the Lyric Theater. And of course, the gorgeous Alabama has been here all along. But the Carver Theater as well has undergone renovation. And we've seen some of our partners and potential partners really grow and enliven the district that we've called home all this time. So I'm just really thankful for that and for the ability to look forward and be able to think about what adult Sidewalk looks like. What does the next 25 years really hold for us as an organization? And obviously it will include film and media arts, but we don't know what other surprises are down the road. There's always a great opportunity to expand when you're in downtown Birmingham. So this is a really quick little teaser for you of what our festival experience feels like. This was made by our marketing partners at Big Communications. So thank you, John, for that. So how many of you have attended the festival before? There's no shame. If you can't raise your hand, that's okay. I'm here to convert you. I can tell you that when I first came to speak to Kiwanis, maybe 10 or 12 hands were raised. So I'm thrilled to see that change and that growth here within the club. And I appreciate, again, y'all letting me come to speak to you. So if you haven't attended or if it's been a while, this video will give you a little sense of what the festival feels like. So I hope that looked cool and fun because we think it's cool and fun. And we're not the only people that think it's cool and fun. About a month ago, we were recognized by Movie Maker magazine as one of the top 25 coolest film festivals in the world. In the world, I'm going to say it again. Yeah, really cool. I didn't include the entirety of the article here because that would have made for really fine print. But We are in this list, and right beside us is the Sundance Film Festival in Park City. I'm sure all of you have heard of that, whether you've attended or not, as well as South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. Two of the largest film festivals that take place in North America. So to be on that list in such great company, of course, was thrilling for our staff and our volunteers. But we also got a lot of great, sort of words of support from other people in the community who just happened to see that news and thought that it was a feather in the cap of Birmingham. And we love, love, love when we, as a small arts nonprofit, can be the feather in the cap of the city. And this is not the only time that's happened. So I'll be, subtle bragging here. We've shown up on this movie maker list a number of times. But in addition to being considered cool, we're also considered a great way for first time and indie filmmakers to really make their start on the film festival circuit and really build their careers from that place of film festival, that film festival environment or universe that we create along with hundreds of others across the country. So you can see last year, 20 great festivals for a first-time movie maker. Lots of other, coolest, worth the entry fee. If you don't know, most festivals require submitting filmmakers to pay a small fee to have their work considered. So this is the magazine saying these places are worth your money, your hard-earned money. And we've been in non-industry publications too, like Time Magazine, USA Today, and the Washington Post. And I want to point out that this type of coverage, this positive press for Sidewalk and for Birmingham happens in a really unique way. We have about 500 volunteers that work with us over the course of a week to host this event. And most, not all, but most of those volunteers are really just cheerleaders for Birmingham. They love this city, they believe in its potential, and they can't wait to show it off to a group of people who largely have never stepped foot in the state of Alabama, much less in Birmingham. And they come jam-packed with preconceived notions about who we are and about what we are. And those volunteers love to intercept them as soon as possible and show them all the coolest things about our community and be the nicest version of themselves that they can possibly be for 48 hours while they're volunteering, and really knock their socks off with sort of Southern hospitality. And that effort from our community of volunteers sends all of these filmmakers who've traveled to Birmingham for the first time, many of them, back to wherever it is that they come from with a different idea about our state and about our community. And I think that's been the most rewarding part of the work for me. And it's one of the reasons that I think we've been able to grow the organization, because this is not a community known for filmmaking, but it is a community known for pushing forward the values of arts and culture, and for focusing on diversity, and for showcasing great Southern hospitality. And the festival allows the community to do that all at one time. And I think it's just beautiful. And then all of that positive praise comes back and leaves a positive impression, on others who haven't been to the event or haven't been to Birmingham, but they see this positive press. So I think it's one of the coolest things that we get to do. All right, so what is Sidewalk? We screen about 1,500 films every year as a part of our open call for entries process. That gets whittled down by a committee of around 65 or 70 volunteers who all have a background in the arts or in film. And the arts varies widely. They represent a broad cross-section of our community, and they are expected to watch these films, rate and review them, and then leave all of the math and arguing to our programming team to figure out how to make all of their opinions really form into a well-balanced, well-rounded program for our city. And so this year they've gotten that work done, and we're around 250 titles for this year's festival. And those are going to vary everything that you can imagine, from a short form 3-minute, music video to a feature-length film. Features obviously run the gamut in terms of what types of stories are being told. We of course have narratives, we have nonfiction documentaries, some experimental films, music videos, episodic content. There's a little bit of everything. We try to cover all the genres and subgenres so that no matter who comes to our event, they can find something that's of interest to them. So one of the other things that we do through this selection process is we look for filmmakers who we think have something special to say. We look for filmmakers who we think are doing something unique and different and have an interesting perspective so that we can showcase their work. And one of those filmmakers is Greta Gerwig. Greta was at Sidewalk in 2007. She was acting in this film, Hannah Takes the Stairs. And she was a remarkable actress and really had, I think, a really bright outlook. It was very positive and fun and interesting, and everybody on the staff loved her. And they thought, you know, she's really going to do something one day. Like she captures your eye immediately on the screen. And then they found out like, oh, and she writes and she directs and she does all these other, you know, things that are within our field. And then, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Greta Gerwig is the writer and director behind Barbie, which we are playing right now at the Sidewalk Film Center and Cinema in the lower level of the Pizitz building until August 17th. So if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. I was not excited about this movie. And frankly, was a little bummed that Greta Gerwig, a Sidewalk alum with a lot of indie cred, had transitioned into like the ultimate blockbuster movie. However, the more I read about the film and sort of the direction they were taking it, and now obviously having since seen it twice, I can tell you that it is really worth a watch. It's so much fun. And I think that the film in its final form is really indicative of that sort of specialness that Sidewalk programmers saw in her in 2007. So if you haven't seen Barbie, come and watch it, preferably at Sidewalk, but if not, anywhere else will do. Because when you buy that ticket, you are helping to make sure that the success of this female director continues to increase. They broke the $1 billion mark this week. I am, of course, reading this sort of news all the time, but you all might not be, and wanted to tell you that she's the first female solo director to cross the $1 billion mark. And she was at Sidewalk in 2007, walking around looking like this cute little girl.
Sidewalk.
So we had to, yes. So come to the festival. It's going to give you an opportunity to meet an artist who is typically in the earlier stages of their career. They're working the festival circuit. They are hoping to build connections. And when they make those relationships at places like Sidewalk, they often really interact with more local people than you would imagine. And that pull can bring them back for things outside of the festival. And then, of course, you've got all the great fun connections that the festival brings to local filmmakers. And one of those local filmmakers that I wanted to highlight today is Daniel Shiner. Daniel's not a household name by any stretch, but he should be in Birmingham, Alabama. Daniel was a high school student at the Jeffco IB program and started doing short film competitions with us as a high schooler. He would win some of them sometimes. Talented, creative, wildly creative guy. And we've been following his career. He's come back. He's led workshops. He's held master classes. He did a summer program with us in the city school system. And then, you know, he swept the Oscars this year. And that doesn't happen every day. In case you guys are unaware, Birmingham doesn't often get to lay claim to an Oscar-winning director, especially a multi-Oscar winning director. And that's only one award show. I could spend the rest of my time clicking through all the pictures of him holding up various trophies over the past year. But I really feel like we get to own a little bit of, you know, his rise to the top. And I can't wait to see what happens with him next. And then just for fun, we had to show you, this is him inside the theater right before the award
Hey,
show.
tell everybody at the Sidewalk Cinema that I love Sidewalk. I love Alabama. I hope you guys have fun.
So again, come to the festival. You never know what celebrities in the making you're going to meet. And then sometimes we have full-fledged celebrities present with us that you can already recognize and acknowledge. And we'll get into that a little bit forward here. The star is where you are. Today's August the 8th. The black box that runs down below that is our festival week. We do 4 nights of previews, Monday through Thursday in the Sidewalk Cinema, each focusing on one of our spotlight programs. And then we have a big opening night celebration at the Alabama Theater on Friday, August 25th. Big, huge block party afterwards on the 1800 block of 3rd Avenue North between the Alabama and the Lyric. And then we start screening those 250 titles in 12 venues simultaneously throughout the weekend. Can you see all the movies in the festival lineup? Absolutely not at the festival. We can help you try to find some of them after the fact, but the fest is a unique personal journey. And so we've got a really robust schedule on our website that you can go through and create custom to your own liking. And I highly recommend if you're going to come to the fest that you do that. Ticket types. Whoa, that slide does not look like it looks for me, but there are ticket types. It's not a blank. We have day passes. That's exactly what it sounds like. It's a day pass. You get to choose the day. You can go to any of the films you like on that day. We have a weekend pass that is exactly what you would think it is. It's a weekend pass, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It includes opening night. And then we have our VIP pass, the most coveted of all the passes. It gets you access to our VIP lounge, to some fun parties. It makes sure that you've got drinks and snacks and whatnot throughout the weekend. Air conditioning when you need a break from the theater but don't want to stand outside. So that is, of course, the experience that I recommend. But if you've never been, it can be overwhelming. So find a tour guide. There are several in here, as we saw earlier from the hand raise, and join us for the festival with that VIP pass. If you can't do that, you can, of course, always buy a single ticket. And I'm sorry that the prices and everything didn't show up there. Then you're going to see here a representation of our festival footprint. It's probably a little difficult to read, so I'll just give you the highlights. At the very, very top of that map, those two wide yellow bars that you see, those represent the BJCC. We are going there for the first time this year. We're really thrilled about that move. So we're going to be in the BJCC Theater and the Forum Theater. So they're sort of on opposite corners of the BJCC complex. One's 1,000 seats and the other is 300. So we're thrilled to be in need of more seats for our festival. Then as you move down 19th Street, you're going to come to ASFA and the Dorothy Jemison Day Theater, the Lecture Hall and the Black Box Theater. And then a little farther down that road, you'll see the Birmingham Museum of Art and the Steiner Auditorium. We are in the Contemporary Worship Space at First Church. We are, of course, at the Alabama Theater, the Lyric Theater, the Crest Building Ballroom, and the Sidewalk Cinema and our 2 screens there. The map, of course, is on our website and is a little easier to read there. So in addition to films, we have panels, workshops, and filmmaker Q&As. You all know what a panel is and a workshop, and you know what a Q&A is, so I won't elaborate here. But it is what makes a festival experience really different than going to the regular movie theater and watching a film any night of the week. The filmmaker being in the room really gives you a unique opportunity to ask questions, to gain insight, and to hear how other people in the room, experience the film that you just watched, which I think is probably the best part about a fest screening. Then we're well known for parties, receptions, and VIP experiences. So as I said, grab a VIP pass and you have access to all of those things. Really fun, innovative parties. The one that most people know is our block party on 3rd on opening night, but we're also doing a casino night this year at Haven, and that is going to be a lot of fun. So if you like to pretend that you're gambling, come and join us. There will be fun prizes. So we have 15,000 people that come out to the festival. At least that's our hope for this year. Those were our numbers in a pre-COVID world. So this is the first year that our budget and our plans reflect the hope that we go back to those numbers. So we're looking at 15,000 for this year's festival. And as I mentioned earlier, about 500 volunteers that help make this event happen, in addition to our very small full-time paid staff and a couple of contract employees. And then I wanted to say, especially to this group, that we have over 100 partners in Birmingham that support and sponsor the festival. Many of you are in this room today. That goes from big businesses like Regions Bank down to smaller mom and pop businesses that like run dance studios and karate, a dojo. Yes, if you've seen Barbie, haha, Mojo, Dojo, Casa House. If you haven't, another reason for you to go watch it. Anyway, so we really, really, really believe in that value of community collaboration, and it's what makes the festival special. And that goes beyond volunteers. It involves our business community as well. So thank our sponsors when you see them. And then our most recent count is that the festival in its really 3 days over the weekend creates over $1 million in economic impact for the city of Birmingham through hotels, rental cars, Airbnbs, all those things. So we're not just fun and we're not just culture. We are a part of the economic fabric of the community. And I always like to point that out because I think it can sometimes get lost in the trailers and the, you know, fun stuff that happens at an event like ours. We have some tangential, I think, value to the community and all that positive press, but this is just, you know, it's just math. And it's hard to argue with. And so now we're going to get into what I think most people like the most, and that is a couple of trailers. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip through 2 trailers and I'm going to play 2. So bear with me if that gets a little awkward for a moment.
What kind of story were you thinking about, Hal?
Something in a prison.
Oh, all right. And what about a prison interests you?
Jail.
For sure.
Happy anniversary.
We're so lucky.
Yeah.
So Elliot tells me you're a writer.
Your last one, it should have done better. There's lots of new voices, refugees, cancer, murder, abuse.
I'm an old voice.
You're the best voice.
Maybe if Dad hadn't just been verbally abusive, it would have been a bestseller.
Don't say that.
Your memoir was great. Your new book is great.
How are you?
Feeling a little off my game.
The only reason she makes me a salad is because she wants me to lose weight, which is passive aggressive.
I want you to be healthy.
Doesn't matter.
Can you shut up and keep talking?
Don, want to intervene here? We can do this at home.
Even Milani looks tired.
I made you.
What are you, nuts?
You get Botox.
Well, I just get a little bit right here. You know, I can still move my eyebrows. Watch, watch.
It's so expressive.
Look, come on, we'll go sneak up on him.
Can you say it?
No, I can't. It feels too late.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
Wait, what do we got? Right here?
No, I don't think I can. I can't.
If I did, say that. You took it out of context.
Are you gonna gaslight me now? He's been lying to me this whole time.
I wasn't lying. I was encouraging.
That's not true. You were lying to be encouraging.
You know what? As an actor, Mark isn't always great.
So the times when you don't think he's good, what do you say to him?
You were so fantastic.
Really? Mom, you're always expecting the best from me.
You're welcome.
Just need to do something meaningful.
What you do is kind of meaningful.
To who?
No one.
This whole world is falling apart, and this is what's consuming you.
Mom, you're not helping.
I love you.
Oh, okay, well, never mind.
So coming soon to the festival. And then this one, we're gonna skip through.
You don't know what it's like.
Trailer.
This is Mike Jespermore. I'm doing great. How are you? I have a few empty spaces. I owned a zoo for 25 years. These are lagers, big cats. Housekeeping, maintenance, security. We usually get about 30 walkers in the mornings, all different times.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Now, this is where the old Kmart used to be. And look, they're still got the phone here. Last week, somebody decided they didn't want to use the bathroom. They just decided to poop on the floor.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just being straightforward.
That's crazy.
I know. The carnival, we're hoping it's just going to start bringing a lot of, locals for the mall.
I'm just trying to move up. I just want to hurry up and be a manager as quickly as I can, make really good money.
I love this mall, but who comes to a mall when stuff is leaving? When there's an exodus going on, who comes in?
I tell everybody at this mall, I'm always joking with them. I left the zoo, now I'm in the jungle.
So this is Jasper Mall, and it is in Jasper, Alabama. And this film was made by two local filmmakers who actually moved, one from LA and one from Texas, to Birmingham because one of them met a lovely young woman while they were attending the Sidewalk Film Festival, and they just could not bear the thought of being away from her. And so they moved here, and now they're married. And now actually, I think they are in LA half the year and in Birmingham half the year, which is a little sad, but we're glad for their success. And this is a film they actually made and initially planned to release in 2020. And we were sad for them. They didn't get to have a theatrical screening of this film here, sort of in the hometown. So we're proud to have that in this year's festival. And then I had someone earlier ask me about opening night. So I do want to show you a trailer for that. The film is called Art for Everybody. It is about Thomas Kinkade. How many of you know who I'm talking about when I reference Thomas Kinkade? I mean, almost everybody. I had no idea that he was a controversial fellow, but apparently he's a really controversial, well, he was, rest in peace, a very controversial fellow. So we're going to watch this trailer, and I think this is one of the most interesting films in this year's lineup, and that's why our programming team thought it would be a great fit for opening night. Oh, no. Or not. Okay. Well, all the motivation you need to go to our website and watch that trailer. Okay. I have no idea what happened there. I can see it on my screen, but not on this screen. Okay. That's all right. We'll move on. The next slide says questions. Does anyone have any? Happy to entertain questions about anything related to the festival, the cinema, Barbie, whatever. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So Victor asked if VIP passes ever go off sale. Yes and no. Generally, what happens is we have to stop selling a VIP pass when all of the 2,200 seats at the Alabama Theater have been spoken for, because a VIP pass gets you access to that opening night film at the Alabama. And there are multiple ticket types that grant access to that venue. But as of right now, there are still tickets available, and you should get a VIP pass if you'd like to. I would say not to wait until the week of the festival. I mean, we are still selling tickets and we run a box office and all of that, but weekend passes, day passes, oh boy. It's not me, I promise. Anyway, so yeah, I would say sooner rather than later. And if you wait until Fest Week, the prices go up a little bit. So, and that's not fun. All right, yes. No. So like the trailer that you saw for You Hurt My Feelings with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, no, that's not a first-time filmmaker. But an indie filmmaker who is now moving into this space of bigger budget films. So yeah, the filmmakers are from all levels of experience. So we have student filmmakers, people that are at the very beginning of their career, and then some really well-seasoned filmmakers as well. Yes, Carla.
Massive fan of Sidewalk and have been for a long time. The way I got involved was at a very early age, through college and right out of college. Can you share a little bit more about some of the programs you guys do with youth programs, that it's beyond Fest Weekend alone?
Yeah, of course. Happy that you asked. So Sidewalk, as I mentioned with Daniel Shiner, we do a short filmmaking competition. We typically do those twice a year. They're not exclusive to high school students, although they do tend to attract high schoolers and college students and young people who have the stamina to stay up for 48 hours and work on a project. But that short filmmaking competition is just one example of our education and outreach programs. We offer those on a year-round basis for people who are interested in filmmaking, as well as people who are interested in learning more about film as an art form, so film appreciation. So if you just really like to be an audience member, but want to be a better audience member, we have opportunities to learn about that as well. Our youth programs, we do in partnership with the library system here in Jefferson County, with Birmingham City Schools on a seasonal basis. And then we host a youth board program that's a year-round multi-school program for high school students that are interested in becoming filmmakers. And they all together make a short film over the course of the 9 months of the school year. And then we play that film at our festival. And then if they are so inclined, we help them submit that film to other festivals across the country to see how other people react to it and to feel sometimes the sting of rejection. That's probably my favorite and first personally created program, because we would host salons, these little sort of networking education nights, and there would always be like a really sad kid with mom or dad beside them that the kid drugged the parent to the event to like prove that somehow their dream could be real. And the parents would always corner me and ask, like, can my kid really do this? Is this legitimate? Like, they're not from LA. We don't have any connections, blah, blah, blah. And it would always, be a fun question to answer, not one that I have all the answers to, of course, but we wanted to create that opportunity for those very kids to be able to show their parents, look, I have what it takes to really start and complete a project and to go through the festival submissions process. And that may seem easy, but it's lots of tedious it used to be paperwork. Now it's all online, but anyway, yeah, so we do lots of different programs for kids and adults. Yes, David? I love being in the Pizitz building, developed by, we do love being in the Pizitz building. As I mentioned earlier, we did a capital campaign late 2017 through 2018. And then we raised just under $5 million to build out what is now our 11,500 square foot 2-screen independent movie theater in the lower level of the Pizitz building. So if you've been to the food hall or perhaps the co-working space at Forge, you have been right above us. And I would recommend that you come downstairs and join us for a movie. Yes. I certainly would. David, thank you so much for asking me such a heartfelt question. I really appreciate it. And JW for having me here. Yes. Tim?
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. In your slide, you said there are 1,500 films that are brought down to 250. Could you explain how your volunteer group of however many people and what are their qualifications and how many films must each one look at in order to bring it down?
Sure. So the number of submissions varies year to year. We generally have somewhere between 60 and 75 community volunteers that will commit to watching not all 1,500 films, but they get divided into categories. So we have a category for documentary versus a narrative. We have categories for features versus shorts, and then those get further subdivided out based on genre, based on the spotlight tracks of our festival. So we have a Black Lens track of programming at the Fest, and we try to have people from that community reviewing those films and rating those films and participating in that process, and so on across other tracks of programming at the festival. They submit an online review in an internal system that we have, and then they assign each film a grade. And they're basically told they have to watch a certain number of hours of film rather than a certain number of titles, because as you can imagine, Watching a bad feature film is a little bit more difficult than watching a bad 4-minute short film. So they get assigned a certain number of hours of watching. And then we track obviously what they're watching. We can see if they've logged in and if they stayed on the page and if they submitted the review. And their backgrounds vary. We try to have a broad cross section of people, but we do ask everybody has a background either in arts education, in the arts more broadly, creative writing, copywriting, video production, filmmaking, those kinds of things, so that we know they're bringing some experience with critique to the table. That hasn't always been the case for Sidewalk, but in the last maybe 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Yes. One more question, John.
Since David brought it up,
Yeah.
the innovation and brilliance of the Bear team to put sidewalks in the basement of the zip building.
Mm-hmm.
We did it previous.
Yeah, we don't say basement.
Since you normally were producing once a year festival,
Mhm.
you're now running a 7-day-a-week business. How challenging has that been to run? And what did this group do to help?
No, it has been a wild time to start a new arm of operation for an established nonprofit. We were told initially that it was a little crazy by our peers who had done similar things. Typically what happens is there's a cinema and then somebody says, we should host a festival because we have this room that we could use. So we did it the opposite way, which was a little challenging, but I think made it interesting and fun. And we knew we had some audience, if not the full audience that we needed. We hired consultants to tell us if they thought we could raise the money that we needed to build the space out. And they told us no, that we couldn't do that. And then I don't know why we decided that we would do it anyway. And we were right and they were wrong. Ha ha. And now we've lived through a pandemic, which is certainly not what we had planned for when we made a 5-year business plan. Global pandemic was nowhere to be found in that document. And it certainly proved to be challenging, for me personally, for our staff, our board members. But I think we did what we always do, which is we got really creative and we got scrappy and we started doing curbside concessions the minute we were legally allowed to. So you could order popcorn and soda on our website and we'd bring it out to your car all masked up and, hand it off. And we did a pop-up rather drive-in movie series, again, partnered with Bayer. We did that at the Summit, which is now managed by Centennial. But it was Bayer Properties at the time, and they were great partners to us through that. And we were having people pull out of the parking lot after those drive-ins with tears streaming down their cheeks because it was the first time they had walked out of their house with their kids in a couple of months and done anything that was close to fun. So we tried to just, pivot. It's kind of a yucky word, I feel like now, but it is what we were doing. And now, we've been back in the cinema at full capacity operations for just over a year. And we've been really fortunate. This has been our best year since we opened the doors in 2019, even pre-COVID. And having, a great title with an alumni connection like Barbie has been obviously a boon to us in the summer months. And we're normally slowing down as we get ready to ramp up for the festival. So yeah, I think having people buy a ticket and come watch a movie with us is the easiest way to help. Make sure that something like Sidewalk stays in your community. And then also we're always looking for partners. So if you ever want to talk to me about that, you can reach me, Chloe@sidewalkfest.com. Yeah. Thanks, John. I'm so sorry. I forgot one thing. I left tote bags. I know, nobody needs another tote bag. You won't make me feel bad if you leave it. But if you take it, you've got some information about the festival, including dates. And 2 of the tote bags in here today have a pair of weekend passes in them. So if you've never been, you've got some freebie passes. If there's an empty one at the table, and you're desperate, go grab that and check it out. Anyway. Thank you.
Raffle bearing the lead. And for anyone who attended our holiday party last year, we had it at Sidewalk and it was phenomenal. So, I'm just not to belabor this, but greatness takes time. Sidewalk Film Festival is objectively great at what it does. It's objectively great for our community. And I imagine even beyond COVID, there were lots of different inflection points where you could have given up, or if for whatever reason Chloe said, I didn't want to do this anymore, we wouldn't be where we are. And we're really lucky that she didn't do that and this community didn't do it. But we should be reminded when something doesn't hit in 2 years, it doesn't mean it didn't hit. Greatness takes time. And so I'm thrilled to see what you have done and what you have built, and everyone who has participated in Sidewalk has built. It's great for our community. And in appreciation of your time today, we are making a donation in your honor to Sidewalk. So members, there you go. So members, don't miss this outstanding local event that brings folks from across the globe to our city. Make sure to sign up. Please join us for our next meeting, Tuesday, August 15th, to hear from speaker and fellow Kiwanian Carlos Aleman, Executive Director of the Hispanic Interest Coalition of Alabama. We are adjourned.